Hi guys! So January is officially over, so that means I'm doing my wrap up today. This month I read 10 whole books, which I think beats any record I've ever had. So let's get started. The first two books I don't actually have with me. The first one is Food, a Love Story by Jim Gaffigan, which was really funny. If you like his comedy, you'll love his book. The only problem I had with it was I know his comedy very well, so a lot of his jokes were recycled for me, which made it a little less funny than it could have been, but I still enjoyed it. The second book I read was Yes Please by Amy Poehler, which, while it does have some funny moments, it's a very deep book. It's definitely more of a memoir than like Tina Fey's Bossy Pants or Mindy Kaling's Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me, because those books were actually really funny and Amy Poehler's book was not. It was more memories and it was a lot deeper and I guess philosophical is the word I'm going for, but I don't think that's really what I would use to describe it. But don't go in expecting a lot of laughs out of it because it's really not super funny. The next book I read was Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This one was recommended to me by Alexis over at Rocket Reads, as well as a lot of people on BookTube. I've been seeing it floating around. And this book is about Victor and Eli, who used to be roommates in college, and you kind of get thrown into the story 10 years later and something has happened. They are no longer friends, but you don't really know why, and the story kind of pieces itself together through flashbacks, and I really enjoyed it. The next book I read was Eleanor Park by Rainbow Rowell, and this book is about two teenagers in high school and just kind of their lives and how they come to be friends, and I really loved this book. It's a lot heavier than her other books in my opinion. It is still really funny and there are funny parts, but I went from laughing to going, oh shit, like really fast and a lot. So be prepared for all of the feels. The next book I read was Fugitives and Refugees by Chuck Palahniuk, and this book was not really what I expected. And I'm not really sure what I was expecting, but it's described as the closest he will ever get to writing an autobiography, which kind of is mostly just talking about places in Portland, Oregon, which is where he lived after college, I believe. Maybe high school, I can't remember. But it wasn't really that interesting to me. A lot of it was like, this is how you get to this place and this is their phone number. Some of it really was interesting and I really liked pieces of it. And there are postcards in between the chapters which kind of describe things that happened in his life, which those I found the most interesting. It was just okay for me. I recommend it if you're interested, but ultimately I wouldn't highly recommend it. His other books are much better. The next book I read was The Story Life of AJ Trickery by Gabrielle Zevin. And this book is about a guy who owns a bookstore and just follows his life, and it kind of jumps, which I didn't really like. I thought it was going to be okay, but I wanted more from the characters, especially as you get to know them better and you start to follow their lives, you get really involved, and then all of a sudden it jumps 5 years in the future and you missed all of the stuff that happens. So I kind of didn't like that, but overall I still really enjoyed the book. The next book I read was Sex Criminals, and this was the first graphic novel I've ever read. It kind of got pushed on me. It was one of the challenges for the 2015 Reading Challenge, and so this one was really short and it was a pretty quick read. I read it in like half an hour, maybe. So this one was really good. I really liked it. It's definitely a bizarre storyline, but the artwork is really good, so I recommend this one. The next book I read was Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, and this book is about a bookstore, shockingly, in San Francisco, which is open 24 hours, but it's not a typical bookstore. There's some stuff that's happening, but you don't really find out what's going on until a little bit into the book, which was a little difficult for me because I kind of like knowing what's happening, so the fact that you didn't really know was a little frustrating, but ultimately I really enjoyed it. It was very bizarre, but I did like it. The next book I read is Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein, and this book is throwback to my childhood, and I don't think I've ever actually read this all the way through. I read some poems, so as I was going through I did recognize some, but a lot of them were very new to me, and I was kind of surprised at how dark some of these poems were, especially since it's aimed at children. Reading it as an adult, I was just like, oh, okay, but ultimately very good, and I'm very happy I have this on my shelves. And the last book I read is We Should Hang Out Sometime by Josh Sundquist. This was the last book I read in January, and I read it on the very last day of January. This book is how I wrapped up my month, and this is about Josh, who was a Paralympic skier, and he was going through all of his romantic conquests throughout his life, trying to figure out what went wrong and why girls didn't like him. He didn't have a girlfriend until he was like 25, I think. And so he was just going through and kind of explaining what happened at the time and sort of why he thought it went wrong. And then he went back and interviewed these girls later to see what they thought. And it was a very touching story. I really enjoyed it. There was some cringeworthy moments because he's very shy and very awkward, which I really related to because I am also shy and awkward in real life. So I really connected with that, and I really liked this book. So I forgot I said I would do this, but up on the screen I will add my updates on my challenges. So I did read 10 books this month, which each one of them marked for one of the challenges for the 2015 reading challenge, and obviously my Goodreads is now up to 10, but I will put those up on the screen for you just in case you were curious. And then as far as TBR goes for February, I'm not really doing one, even though I do have a TBR jar. That's kind of my last resort as far as I have nothing to read, just pick one to read. But right now I'm kind of just picking things off my shelf, and I did that last month and it turned out really well for me. So I think I'm just going to keep doing that for now. But I am currently in the process of reading 2 books. The first one is I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell by Tucker Max. This book, on the back it says, "My name is Tucker Max and I am an asshole," which he totally is, and this book is just kind of about all of the shitty things he's done. And some of the stories are really funny, some of them I am just cringing the entire way through. I'm not very far in, right there, so we'll see. I don't really have high hopes for this one. I'm not actually planning on finishing it anytime soon. I'm just going to kind of read it as it goes, but I am in the process of reading that one. And last night I started Slaughterhouse V by Kurt Vonnegut. This one has been recommended to me multiple times, and it's pretty short. It's only 200 pages. So I started reading that, and I'm not very far in so far. I'm not really sure what's happening. The first chapter is really weird, and it's not what I expected, and it's not really connected to the story as far as I can tell yet. So I'm kind of confused what's going on there, but hopefully I'll finish this one soon, and maybe I'll do a full book review of it. That's what I'm reading currently and what I read in the month of January. Let me know in the comments down below how many books you read, or maybe your favorite books from the month. Please like and subscribe. See you later.